Okay. So welcome everyone. My name's Anita Thompson of Art Venture Workshops. I teach mobile-based art classes for all ages, and I service about 20 different libraries at this point. Um, and if you're interested in finding out the other libraries I teach for, you can receive my weekly newsletter. It comes out on Mondays. And in that, I break it down and have the registration links for all of the libraries that I teach for. So you can go right in the newsletter, click on the link and register for these classes. So we're going to begin. I'm going to spotlight my video so that you will be able to see it bigger. And I'm just going to adjust my camera here. There we go. And move some things on my desk. Okay, and then make sure that the lighting is good for all of you. I'm going to add my other lights here. Okay. So we're going to get started with our pencil first. So we're going to be drawing this and then sketching it in with the pastels. So I'm going to just spotlight real quickly the shape, the general shape that we're going to be going for. So can you all see this? You can just give me a thumbs up. Okay, or head nods work too. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to be going for the general shape on our paper. This is obviously just our sort of shrubbery happening here. It's just the basic line. Oh, let me let Sandra in. This is the general line of where that's going to happen. And then we've got our water line along with the other area of the shrubbery happening, and then our bicycle. Our bicycle is by far the most difficult part of the drawing, but I'm going to take you step by step. And welcome, Sandra. I'm just going to put the information in the chat for this evening's supplies. We have just begun and we are recording. Okay. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. Like if you need me to slow down or you need me to repeat something, all of those things. Okay, so we're going to, hello, Sandra. So good to see you. So happy you could join tonight. So we're working on 9x12 paper. I'm going to move this over a little more here. And we're going to get started. So we're going to start at the top of our paper and we're going to move down with our pencil. I'm going to be doing this darker so you can see. You want to be doing it lighter so that, well, I mean, our pastels will be covering everything or whatever medium you're using. So this was done in chalk pastels, but if you don't have those, you can use watercolor pencil, colored pencil, crayons, whatever you have. It'll just be a little different for you. Okay, so getting back to it, coming from the top of our page down the left side, we're going to go about not exactly halfway down, a little less than halfway down, and we're going to create the area for our shrubbery. So about right here. And then we're going to go straight across. So we're bending down or lowering down, and then we're going straight about right here. This is the area of our walkway, the beach area. And then we're going to so we'll go a little bit across here, and then we're going to have another area of our shrubbery. So we're just creating the shapes for those. And our shrubbery kind of starts here. And this is about the area of our shrubbery. It looks very basic right now. And then once we have that, we're also just going to go up above the line for our beach, and we're going to make a straight line for our water. So basically going back over here to our grasses, I should really be calling it grasses. It's the, beach grasses. You're going to go straight across. And this is your water line. And the sky is up here. So our sky takes up a big portion of this drawing. So we have the basics down. We're now going to start into our bicycle. So our bicycle starts over here, and we're going to start with the basket. And basically, we're going to start with straight or curved lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the curved lines and the straight or single lines, I should say, so that it's easier to see the shape of our bicycle and the angles that we need. I'm going to go a little bit closer now and kind of zero in. Sorry for me bumping my camera here. Okay, so over here is our shrubbery or grasses area. We're going to start with the basket first. So basically our basket is going to be here. And what we're going to do is we're going to angle it. So right now we're doing the general shape of our basket. And it's going to look like something like this. And once you have that general shape, you can then erase inside the lines that you used for your landscape. Now this is for right now, because what we want to do is just make sure everything's in the right spot. So we may have to do some adjusting. But we're going to now create the line for the bike right underneath. So again, I'm going to be making a single line for all of these, and then we're going to go back and make them three-dimensional. So our bicycle, here is the frame of the bicycle. So it's coming right here. And it's going to curve down a little bit like this. And then we have our tire. So coming right in between, we have the curve of our tire. And so basically, we're going to create an oval shape for the tire for now. So here's our tire. We're going to round it out in a little bit, but we just want to get that basic shape down so that we know where it's angled, because it's angled this way. Now from here, we're going to come back over here and we're going to continue with the bicycle. So we're going to curve, go down and out to your right. Like so. Now I'm looking at my tire right now, and I need to make my oval longer. So I'm going to do that right now. Once you make that happen, I want you to go to the bottom of your tire and just create a line like this that's not straight. You can see that it's angled. The reason being is we're going to set up our back tire. It's okay if it's not perfect right now. It's just going to give us an idea around where that back tire should be. Okay, so now we're going to go right here in the middle. So we stopped about right here. And from this point, we're going to create the line for our bicycle seat. So it is slightly angled. And if your basket's right here, you want to stop the line probably. So if I take a diagonal line here in the center of my basket, I want my line to kind of stop, this line to kind of stop in between or halfway into the basket. So this is just an imaginary line to show you about where the bicycle seat should be. And then we're going to draw the bicycle seat on top of that with an oval and a rectangle. So it's going to look like this. We all doing okay so far? Awesome, awesome. Thank you. All right, and then you can erase that imaginary line so that is not confusing. Okay, so now we're going to come over here underneath the bicycle, and we're going to create the rest of the bicycle that is extended. So it basically starts about here and then starts to curve upward towards the basket. So something like that. So remember, we're just doing a stick figure bicycle right now. We just want to get everything in its proper place. Okay, now we're going to come right over here. And we're going to create another line for the part of the bicycle where the spokes are going to be for the back wheel. So I took this line, I extended it, and you see it's not straight. See, if I take my pencil, it's not straight, it's curved up a little bit. Now, once you have that line, you're going to keep that line there, and you're going to start to create the circle for your tire. So this line is sort of in the middle of our tire. So we're going to come back with our pencil over here, really close to our bicycle seat. And we're going to start to create our circle for the tire. So we're going to go around. And your tire is going to end about right where you created that one line. So you can take this circle, and as you can see, it's not really a circle, it's more of an oval. It's an oval so that right at the top and at the bottom, it should be thinner like an oval, not so much wider like a circle. So it should look a little something like this. And we just about have our bicycle here. We want to now come down again, down from the bicycle seat. And we're going to create a circle behind it because that is where the portion of our bicycle where we pedal. So we're going to make sort of like a circle around here. And then we're going to make our pedal there. And then here's the actual pedal that we put our foot on. So it's kind of curved downward, right? And then we've got a pedal shape. And then we're going to make the second one right near this line right here. And we're going to make a line up like this because this pedal is up in the air. And then at the top, it's sort of like a golf club shape, if that makes sense. And this one is a little bit wider because it's in front of us. Okay, and now we're going to come back up to our basket here. And we're just going to pencil in a little bit of our flowers and our stems. So first we have to pencil in our bicycle handle. So here we are right at the left portion of our basket. And so we're going to make a curve for our bicycle handle. And then we're going to make the handle on top of it. So it should look a little something like this. And I'm just going to show this up close. Just so you can see the proportion. It's small. Now we don't see the other one because of the way the bicycle is turned. And our florals are covering it. So now we just want to make some side ovals for where we want to put our flowers. So I made up these flowers. I always say I am not a flower person in the sense of I just make them up. So if you want to put more roses in, I kind of made most of them look like roses and a tulip here. If you want to create a sunflower or go to town with, you know, certain flowers that you like and enjoy, please feel free to do so. But I'm just creating sort of circles or ovals in those spaces, knowing that the greenery is going to go around it. So we just know that our bouquet is going to be, you know, abundant and kind of overflowing a little on top of our basket eventually. So we don't really have to draw every single one, especially because this is more of an impressionistic drawing. It's not as realistic. Okay, so now we just want to, we're going to go back to the bicycle, but first we do just want to make sure we get the angle of the rest of the path in here behind our bicycle. So we're going to start right where our tire is, up at the left top. And basically, so it kind of comes to a little bit of a point on the beach. And then you're going to go towards the bottom left corner of your drawing. Now, I think I have to go a little bit more outward toward my beach, like so. Now, the other thing I'm taking a look at is my tire isn't exactly right where the beach portion is. So if you want to adjust that, you can, or it's not as big of a deal if you don't want to. But it's about right there. And now we're going to go back to our bicycle and finish off our bicycle as far as making it a little more three-dimensional, and then we're going to add the spokes later on with the pastels. So we're not going to worry about those so far. But right now, we just want to make this tire a bit more three-dimensional. So we're going to come back over here to the left and right here at the top of the basket. And we're going to make that three-dimensional by adding another line. And then we're also going to do the same thing to the other part of the bicycle. So it's going to look like this. And then you're going to make a line right here because that's the connecting part onto the wheel. You know, again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're not doing a very detailed drawing. Now, once you do that, we do want to make sure the tire is three-dimensional. So now we created this line. Now we're going to create the three-dimensional part of the tire. So depending on where your oval is falling, you want to either move the line over or add another line. So you want this line to be very close to your bicycle, the frame of the bicycle here. So I'm going to start sketching right here. And now when we get over here, that tire is going to flip a little bit as far as what you see on the other side. And I'll explain after I draw it. So we're drawing the thickness of the rubber tire. And we're making it look three-dimensional. All right, so I'm going to show that up close. Right here, you see the other side of the tire, the outside part of it, so that it looks like the tire is turned. So we have this line here, making it look like that. We're going to do the same thing to the other tire, a little bit less. So let's go to the other tire now. And I like to start right where the pedal is. And I'm going to erase the line inside the pedal. I forgot to do that. So here again, I like to start my line for the tire, kind of where the pedal is. And I'm following the line of the tire that we made before. You're going to go around. And you're going to go all the way around the outside, continue that line in back, and then you can erase the lines inside the tire that are breaking through the landscape so that it looks like the tire is in front. You may have to do a little bit of erasing and finagling of that tire. And it's probably going to look pretty messy on your paper, all the smudging. That's okay. Okay, so you should have now a back tire. I have to flatten mine out a little over here. There we go. Okay, and now the last part before we can get started with our pastels is just now making the rest of the bike look three-dimensional by adding lines next to it. Right here. So we're just adding lines to the frame so that it looks three-dimensional. So that's what I'm doing right now. And let's not forget this part here. This is also needs to be three-dimensional. So add another line. And then you're going to get really thin over here. So you might have to erase, probably will have to erase because that line is in front of everything else. All right, I'm going to show this up close. I'll give you a little bit of time here. Take a step back and look at your drawing. Make sure your bicycle doesn't look broken. That is often what happens. It kind of looks broken. But we're just going to do the best we can. And now we get to get started on the coloring part, which is my favorite. So we're going to do the sky first. So basically what you need, and let me fix my camera here. Basically what you need is we're going to be using our light blue. So you want to take out your light blue. If for whatever reason you don't have a light blue, you can use a regular blue. And then you can use your tortillon or whatever tool you have. But if you have a light blue, I highly recommend that. Let me go grab my, I don't know where I put my, here they are. I put my soft pastels on my other desk. So I'm going to take out my light blue. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw our clouds in so that we're going to be coloring around them so that the white of our paper is going to be where our clouds are. Okay, so for instance, we're going to start at the top. And as you can see, these are chunky. And basically, you have the four corners to be able to use it for the pointier parts. It's not the best thing compared to, you don't have as much control with these as you do with pastel pencils, but it's fun to try. And that's what this lesson is all about. So going up top here, we have some cloud coverage all the way at the top. So we're thinking about, we're laying in the color And you just go very lightly at first. Basically, I'm laying in the sky color and leaving the white of the paper as the clouds, like I said. So it's going to look a little something like this. So it's almost like doing an opposite effect, right? So what I'm doing is I'm laying in the color of the sky and I'm skipping spaces, imagining that that's where my clouds are. And it doesn't have to be perfect or look exactly like mine. The other thing is when you get to your basket or around the area of your basket, just do the best you can. You want to make sure that you're still covering that portion of the sky, but at the same time, you don't need to cover that area with blue because that's going to be covered with green. You can cover some of it. And then we'll use our shading tool to smooth it all out. So a very light application here. And then you're going to go back and you're going to smooth it all out with your tool. So this is where the messiness starts to begin. And this is where you want to shake off the remainder of the pastel when you're finished, each time. And you can blend this. You can even blend it into the white areas of your paper. And it's going to give it a misty look. You can also go around in circles in one area on the pastel color in order to blend it. So what I'm doing is concentrating around the one area. And in order to smooth it out, I go in circles around one section. And then I fade around it so that it looks more like clouds and sky. I have to say, Joanne, you guys look like you're having so much fun. I love it. I hope you're all having fun. I hope this isn't stressing you out. I hope that it's relaxing. And you'll come out with a pretty beach scene. Summery. Very summery. I'll talk about, what to spray it with when you are done. So pastels, the best thing to do is to spray these when you know that you're not going to go back and fix them. It's called fixative. You can get it at Michael's, and they have different kinds. They have workable fixative, which means when you spray it, it doesn't set it so much that you can't go back and keep working on it. And then there is permanent fixative. And that's when you know you're completely done. You want to set it because it's chalk and you don't want it to slide off your paper or, with your fingers, mess it up, because it will do that since it's chalk. So it does need something to set it. So now once and you can also use, you can blow off you can blow it off or shake it off, whatever you prefer. So now you should have a sky that is looking a bit with clouds, but we want to add some white now to the areas of our clouds. So now you want to grab your white chalk. The other thing is that I forgot to mention, if you are going to be repeatedly using the same chalk for other areas, you do want to clean them off when you get a chance. Not so much with the blue right now, but just so you know, the way you can clean it off is, again, your paper towel is going to come in handy for that. So you can actually just take the corner or whatever you're using and wipe it on the paper towel and it cleans it. Another thing you can do, if you get really into these and you need to make a point, like make it pointed, is you can use sandpaper in order to rub the pastel into a point. That's just something, you know, we're not going to be doing that for this one, but I mean, in the future. Honestly, my preference for pastels is to use the pastel pencils. It gives you a little more control. I am not a pastel artist. I don't work mainly in pastel. I just dabble. So I have these. So anyway, you want to pick up your white chalk pastel, and now you want to go into your clouds, and you're going to add just a little bit of white around the edges into the blue. So what do I mean by that? I'm kind of taking my white and going around the edges so that I'm still leaving the white of the paper as it is, but I'm just kind of blurring out a little bit of the edges of the clouds with my white. So I'm kind of blurring out the border for some of these. And you don't have to do it on every one. If you do, it's okay. But we just want to kind of blend it in a little bit. You can also use your white to blend a little more of your blue in spots where you want it to be a little lighter. So I just take it, and in certain spots, I rub back and forth. The sky gets a little lighter right before we start with our ocean. So you can take your white now and kind of blend that so that now it's like a whitish blue. And then again, shake that off. The other part we use, if you have pink, either pink or orange, you want to grab your pink or orange, and we're just going to add a little bit of that to around the space of some of the clouds. So for instance, right here, what I'm doing is very lightly adding some of my orange around some of the border of the clouds, just very lightly. I'm kind of dabbing it quickly and lightly. And then you're going to do the same thing. And, you know, when you're done, pick up your tool. And you're going to blend that out a little bit. Into the blue. Just a little bit. Also, if it's too much, you can then go back in with your light blue and go over it a little bit so that it kind of creates a little bit of a shadow. And then I like to go in and just add some dark spots again with the blue. This is just the light blue still. We use the light blue in the sky, and then we're going to use the blue, the light blue, and the regular blue in the water. So we're now going to go into our water. And you need your light blue for the water. And you're going to start at the line of the water. And then you're going to very lightly fill in that part of the water, but you kind of skip spaces and then go back again with your tool here. And you're going to blend it. And then shake it off. And then I like to add some regular blue to the darker parts of your water. So that would be the line of water that meets the sky. So right there. And then just a little bit on the upper, in the upper right corner here of your ocean. And you can add like in between some waves on the right side. And then you're going to blend again. And then shake off. Now you can add some white. Basically, you want those waves to look, you want some of that white on the waves. So you can take your chalk pastel and create lines with your white, like I'm doing here, almost like dashed lines. I'm going to show this up close. So you see there's lightened parts of the ocean there. I'm going to make this a little bit darker right over here, the edge. Okay, so now we're going to go into our grasses. So we're going to go here to the left side. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to grab our brown. So we want this to be a basic brown. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover both of these areas in brown. And then we're going to make the light parts come out on the brown so that the brown serves as the darker straw-like areas. So what we want to do is very lightly just go over the area with the grasses. Now you're going to have to very lightly go around your bicycle tire as well. Remember to also go inside where your spokes should be. Remember, we're going to add those on later on. But you want to go very carefully around your bicycle at this point. So if you want, you can sort of outline the areas of your bicycle outside of the line of the bicycle, obviously. But this is where the grasses would be. So again, we're creating the darker area first. And remember, it kind of comes to a point right here, like it stops right here, and then it continues to our left, bottom left corner. And you're going to just fill this in very lightly with your brown. And then what we'll do is we're going to, again, take our tool and lighten it up. You're going to do the same thing to the other side. So right now, these two areas are going to be chalked up or chalked as brown. So there's one area, and then I'm going to come over here, and you can basically just use the side of your chalk on the other side because the area is more expansive and less detail than the one on the left because we have our bicycle there. So it should look like a brown blob. And then you're going to want to take your tool and smooth everything out so that it's more of a flat brown. You're going to take your time on this part. So remember, you can go in circles with your blending tool, little circles as you're shading. You know, the hardest parts are obviously around the bicycle, inside the tires, but just take your time and blend those. They're not going to be perfectly blended. You know, that it's not going to be perfectly flat because your paper probably has a tooth to it, right? Like a surface. And if it doesn't, then maybe yours will come out smoother. Either way, it's okay. We're going to be adding texture to it anyway with our different colors of the graphs. And just keep blending. This is the part to, you know, you can also use your fingers if you don't have something to blend with, but you can use a small piece of tissue or paper towel if you don't have a tortillon or a Q-tip. So just something to basically blend with and make it a little smooth. So I'm finished with the one side. I'm going to go on over to the next side here. And for right now, you know, it just looks like a brown, they look like brown lumps. We're going to make the grasses, you know, come out of those and expand, you know, curve outward towards our beach so that it looks like grasses. But we want this part to be a little smooth. This is kind of the dark areas of the grass. We work differently in pastel, working sometimes from dark to light, because with pastel, a lot of it lays on top of each other rather than blends in, although there are parts that blend in. So it just depends on what we're trying to accomplish here. I forgot to go over that. I apologize. So same with the blending tool, or same with the pastels. What you want to do is you want to wipe it on the paper towel. Let me show you here. So I'm going to wipe that on the paper towel as best I can until no more colors coming off. It's still going to be on your blending tool, but if you look, no, hardly any color is coming off from my blending tool. So that's one way to do it for tonight. In the future, you can use, again, you can use like a fine sandpaper, but for our purposes this evening, you can just use the paper towel. It's pretty messy. It is a pretty messy medium to work with. But yeah, once you have all of that blended, and again, you can use little pieces, a little piece of a paper towel in order to do that. And then we're going to start adding our yellow and cream and white. Those are the next colors we're going to use for our grasses. So cream, like a cream or a tan. I have a golden yellow in my set, but you can also use just yellow. And then white. So if you have sort of these 4 colors, again, this is a golden yellow. You know what? Let me do it in order here. A golden yellow, a yellow. This is a cream, or if you have a tan, and then white. If you have just yellow and white, that's fine too. Your beach is just going to be a little more in the yellow, literally. All right, so the next one we are going to pick up actually is going to be if you have your tan. If you don't have your tan color, or I'm sorry, your golden yellow, you will pick up your yellow. And what we're going to do is we're going to start creating strokes of color on top of the brown. I'm going to go really close so that you can see. So basically, thinking of it as fur. So I'm doing curves, and I'm going to start making the edge of the border onto the beach. I'm going to start making, curves on top of the beach. We're going to go over the beach area again too, but for now, you want to make almost like little hairs, and you're going to start doing that for the rest of the brown, being very careful inside your bike. You don't want to cover the brown entirely. You want the brown to peek through. And so what you're going to start to see is you're getting, this texture. Now, if you go over the bike a little bit, it's okay, because we are going to be, doing the bicycle last after we do this. You also want to do the same thing on the other side. I like to start off with my border first, meaning the border of where we drew in, let me move this so you can see, of where we drew in the shape, because you want to make that look like grasses kind of sticking up and out. So right now it's kind of going to look like a hairy porcupine. But we're going to start lightening up. This is the part that has the most color, the grasses. So again, you don't have to go crazy with that yellow. After you do that, you're then going to start adding your yellow, doing the same process of layering. And you're going to notice your grass is getting lighter. So again, I'm not trying to cover up all the brown. And as you can see, I'm kind of quickly, doing these little kind of hair type curves here very quickly. You can hear me lifting up my chalk. I'm going to do the same thing over here. We add a little bit of light green in this too. And then if you want, you can go back and just add a little more brown one more time if you feel like you need some more of the darker areas in between your grass. So some of it should also start to look a bit smoothed out because you're kind of blending a little bit with, I'm using the yellow now. You're also making sure those grasses are sticking up from the right side here. You're making them stick up going outward towards your beach area. And then shake off any excess there. See, and you're starting to get, or you should be starting to get, a nice blended grass area. And your third color is going to be your cream or tan. And then our last color will be white and a tiny bit of our yellowish green. You want to go really tiny when you get to the area around where the bicycle is. I like to take sort of the tip and just go really slow, whereas the rest of it, you can hear that I'm kind of lifting up and being a little more aggressive on the paper. Oops. Again, going over here to the right with the cream. You also may have to press a little harder in order to get the cream or tan to show. The other thing is, if you want to start expanding your grass, you can do that as well by making your curving of the grass go out a little more than your border. And shake off in between. So a lot of shaking off. And then you're going to use your white in order to add some lightness in your grass. And this is going to be sparingly. Remember, you still want that brown, you know, those parts of the brown to be showing. And we're going to add a little bit of darkness with the brown one more time. Now that we have the basic colors kind of blended in, you can then just take your brown and just add some pops of grass, blades of grass here on top. Same with over here. So I basically take my corner that's still kind of sharp, and I randomly go in little parts of the grass just to kind of, I don't want to say highlight because this is the dark area of it, but to add to the dark parts of it, especially here on the right bottom corner, where it's a little dark in the grass right there. I'm just going to show this up close just so you can see the texture there, what we're talking about. Same here. Shake it off. And then we're finally going to get to the path and the bicycle. The path is very easy. It's mostly the white of our paper. What you can do, I know there's a lot of smudging right now. You can basically start to smooth out some of this with your finger. It actually works better with your finger at this point on here because there's a lot of smudges. This is going to add to sort of the color of your path. And then we're going to add some white. So smooth this out and wipe off your finger. And then you're going to grab your white and you're going to start to add your white on top of your beach, all over it. You're kind of blending in that whole area. You're gonna shake it off, shake, shake, shake. Oops, sorry, my camera went a little crazy there. The next part you're gonna add is you're going to grab your cream or tan or yellow. So one of those, or your golden yellow, whichever one of those you have. Preference would be your golden yellow, a little bit, and we're going to add a little bit to the back on the beach against the water. You're also going to add on the right side of where your grass is, you're going to add quick lines like this with your yellow, golden yellow. Okay. You're going to take your tool. You're going to smooth that out, including the back portion against the water. You're going to smooth that all out. You're going to shake. Okay. Now we're going to go to the bottom here of our bicycle tires. And we're going to add some brown. So basically right against the tire here on the right, you're going to start to add what looks like the shadow. Like I said, I kind of put my bicycle tire a little bit more into the grassy area, so it's not going to look the same as my other one. And then you're going to blend that with your tool. You're going to also grab your golden yellow. You're going to add that also to the brown. And shake that off. And we're finally going to get to the bicycle. So we're going to start at the top of our bicycle. We're going to start with the basket. And we're going to start with our orange on the left side. So you want to grab your orange and following the shape of the bicycle, you're going to go on the left and start to outline on the left side and add some orange like so. You're going to then go to the bottom of the basket and you're going to add orange to the bottom and then along the right side as well. This is the light shining from the sun or any kind of lightness on the beach. Now, once you do that, you're going to grab your brown. And you're going to go in the middle with your brown like so. Now, once you do that, you're going to grab your tool and you're going to blend your brown with your tool like so. Now, once you do that, you're then going to grab your cream color and you're going to start blending the whole basket, going from left to right. So it's going to look like that. And then one more time, you're going to pick up your orange and you're going to make strokes like this, almost like a basket weave. So kind of lines on top of the color you did. Shake it off so you can see. I'm showing that up close. So see, I took my orange and I almost made like little lines and skipped in between. And then you're going to take a little bit of your white, but then on the other side, you're going to take your brown again. And you're going to make lines like the basket. And you can also start to define the basket a little bit by going around it. And then we're going to add our greenery, which is basically working the green, the regular green, around our flowers that we sort of circled in. And you want to extend your greenery overflowing on top of the basket, like one or two of them. So it's just going to look like kind of green, kind of gobs in a way of color. And then you can also take your yellow green and blend that in right on top. So instead of using your tool, you can just take that yellow green, blend that in. And then this is where you're then going to go and add in your flower colors, where you've got red and pink. And because we're treating them like globs of color, you know, like the Impressionists, you can basically kind of go around in circles and add what's going to look like flowers, sort of. You know, it's not exactly, but to anybody's eye, it's going to look like, oh yeah, look, those are flowers. So I'm adding yellow, some orange, some red and pink. And again, this is just, you know, really quickly with kind of globs of color. I'm just going to show that up close to show you what I mean. I even left, you know, part of the paper white to make it look like, you know, the white of the flower or the lighter parts of the flowers. And then our last part is finally the bicycle. Which is our last section. And then I can't wait to see what everybody's looks like. So for the, I love some people are like, oh yeah, smiling like, yeah, right. So we're going to pick up our brown for our handlebar. And basically you're going to go very delicately on the left side of that handlebar. I'm going to go really close now for the bicycle. That's brown. It's showing up. It almost looks black on the screen, I realized. And then you're going to take your white on top of the sort of other side to kind of give it a highlight there. And then you're going to take that white and add it to the other longer part of the handlebar. So again, this is brown on the edge, and then I added some brown going on the left. Again, these are like, you know, drabs of color here, just, you know, and it just fools the eye when you look at it from far away. It's very impressionistic, which is what the Impressionists did. Now you're going to keep that brown, and we're going to go into our bicycle seat. And you're going to go into the bicycle seat on the bottom of the oval. and then also in the longer part. So again, it's going to look something like this. That's just with brown. We're going to add a little bit of black just to kind of outline. So you want to get out your black. And our black is really for adding a little bit of dark kind of around the bottom edge of the seat and a little up top. Let's see, we have that highlight right here, that little spot. And then with the longer part, you can kind of outline a little bit. So again, I'm going to show that up close. And finally, you're going to take your light blue. Now our bicycle, you're going to start to add light blue. Here we are at the top underneath the basket. You're going to skip spots that are going to be white. So here's what we're doing. Again, I'm going really close so you can see. I put light blue up here, and then I kind of skipped along the way so that that will be the white of the paper. Right now, we're using the light blue for the frame. So I know it's hard, but going along the frame, you want to leave the top part of the frame the white of the paper. So if you can't do it all the way, that's okay. You can just very lightly add kind of little dabs like this. Remember to go towards the spokes. Once you do that, you're going to take your darker blue and you're going to add a little bit of darker blue. Again, on little parts on top of the blue, because that is your shadow part. So see right here, I just kind of add, I kind of take my chalk and I just really lightly go along the edge as if almost like I'm outlining. I want that light blue to still show through. I'm doing it on top of the light blue. And then we're finally going to take our black. And we're going to go to our tires. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to leave spots that are white of the paper. So when we go to the top of our tire here in front, I'm going to go very carefully. There is white in part of the tire as we go down. And then the other tire is really just slightly outlined because these are, you know, the white walls of the tire. And again, it's not going to be perfect. You want to skip spaces. You're going to work towards the middle of your bicycle where the foot petals are. You're going to add that black. You're then going to finally go to the back wheel. There's not a lot of black on this wheel. Very carefully. So we have, remember, the other petal here that you can just color in with black. And then you're going to kind of copy around with the pointy part of your chalk around the outside. If it's not real sharp, keep flipping it over, meaning your chalk, so that you get a little bit of an edge. And go really lightly, like barely touching the paper. And then you're going to go around the inside where we drew the tire. And then you're going to make your spokes so light with the black. You're barely touching the paper. And you're going to do that on both sides here of your bicycle. And if you want to use your white chalk for kind of blending in your tires, you can do that. It does smudge it to gray. So maybe in certain parts, but not the whole thing. Lift up here. And you're going to wipe your fingers. And I'm going to stop the recording. And I can't wait to see if you want to show yours.